Okay, so are you ready for this?
Ready as I'll ever be. What do we got?
IBS.
All right, yeah. A lot of people struggle with it.
I think, well, it's one of those things that people don't like to talk about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people deal with it. So I thought it'd be really interesting to do a deep dive into this today. And we're looking at some advice compiled by a specialist dietitian. Let me try to say his name. Justice Kofi Amagashi.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
You got it. Yeah. He's great.
Yeah. He's drawing on some insights from the British Dietetic Association.
Yeah.
So we know this is legit.
Absolutely.
Solid advice. And, going into this, I always thought I had a decent grasp of IBS, like, avoid the spicy stuff and you're good to go. But I'm already seeing, just glancing at this, there's a whole lot more to it.
Yeah. A lot of people think it's really simple, like you said, but it's way more complex than people realize. There's so much more to it than just what you eat.
So let's dive into it. One of the things that immediately popped out to me was like the whole idea of regularity, like having a regular eating schedule, eating 3 meals a day, not skipping meals, and definitely no late night snacks.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Which, I get, it makes sense. Routine's good for you, but why is it especially crucial for IBS?
Well, if you think about your digestive system, it really works best when it knows what's coming and when. So like having consistent meal times is kind of like setting a clock for your gut. It just helps everything flow smoothly. Less surprises,
Okay, yeah. No surprises for your gut. Makes sense. So then here's where things took a bit of a turn. The advice to eat smaller, more frequent meals. I was honestly a little surprised by this.
I think a lot of people are.
Yeah, because in my head, it was always, the bigger the meal, the longer you'll stay full.
Right, you would think so.
So why is smaller better in this case?
Well, it all comes down to how much work your digestive system has to do. If you hit it with a huge meal, it's got to work overtime, right? And that can lead to that uncomfortable, full feeling. Smaller portions are just easier to process.
Right, so it's not just what you're eating, but it's the portion sizes too. It all plays into it.
Absolutely. Portion control is key.
All right, so speaking of what we're eating, let's talk about, the usual suspects when it comes to IBS triggers. And the ones that really stand out in this material are alcohol, caffeine, and of course the fizzy drinks.
The big three.
So for alcohol, the advice is to limit yourself to, 2 units a day with 2 alcohol-free days per week.
Gives your system a bit of a break.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense. For those who don't know, because I actually had to look this up, 1 unit of alcohol is about half a pint of beer or a small glass of wine.
Yeah, people always overestimate how much a unit actually is.
Yeah. Now for caffeine, we're looking at a max of 2 mugs of coffee a day, or 3 cups if you're doing tea.
Right, and I guess that depends on the size of your mug too, right?
That's true. Yeah, my mugs are gigantic. And then, of course, the advice is to cut back on the fizzy drinks. Now, my question is, and I'm genuinely curious, how much of a difference do these actually make? Yeah, I have my coffee in the morning. I might have, a soda here and there. But it's not like, I'm going crazy with it.
Well, and this is something that's really important to remember. Triggers can be so different for each person.
Yeah, that's...
What bothers one person might not even affect someone else. It's really about being aware of your own body and figuring out what your own personal triggers are. You might find that even 1 cup of coffee sets things off, or you might be able to handle a little more.
Okay, so it's not about, strict rules. It's more about figuring out what works for you and being mindful.
Exactly. It's all about self-awareness.
Got it. All right, so moving on to something that's essential for everyone, IBS or not, and that's hydration.
You can't go wrong with staying hydrated.
Right. The advice here is to aim for at least 8 cups of fluid each day. Preferably water, but, non-caffeinated beverages are good too.
Herbal teas, diluted juices.
Yeah, get creative. So here's the thing, and you can probably relate to this. I am absolutely terrible at remembering to drink water throughout the day. Do you have any tips or tricks that work for you?
Oh yeah, I always have a water bottle with me everywhere I go, and I try to set little reminders on my phone just to nudge myself.
Reminders are good.
Yeah, or you can even get those water tracking apps.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
And if plain water gets boring, which I know it can for some people, you can jazz it up a bit, throw in some cucumber slices, some lemon wedges, some berries, whatever you like.
Okay, great tips. I'm going to try that. All right, so let's talk about dietary adjustments because this is where it gets really specific.
Yeah.
The source recommends limiting rich, fatty, or fried foods.
Yeah, that's a common one.
Things like chips, fast food, anything that's deep fried, ready meals, creamy sauces, all the good stuff.
I know, right? The things we all love.
I know. So I've heard this advice before, but I've never really understood like the WHY behind it. Why are these types of foods particularly problematic for people with IBS?
Well, these foods, they tend to be high in fat, which can actually slow down your digestion. And that can trigger a whole cascade of symptoms, bloating, diarrhea, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, that makes sense.
And they can also be low in fiber, which is what you need to keep things moving regularly.
Right. Yeah, fiber is important. Speaking of fiber, this is the piece of advice that really threw me off. It says to limit fruit intake to 3 portions a day. And I'm thinking, fruit's healthy, right? What's the issue?
Yeah, it is healthy. But the thing is, a lot of fruits have these things called FODM maps. You familiar with those?
I am not.
Okay, so it stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. And those are basically types of carbs that some people have a really hard time digesting.
So they can trigger IBS symptoms.
Exactly. So while fruit is generally good for you, you might have to watch your intake if you're sensitive to FODM maps.
Wow, FODMAs. Okay, I'm learning a lot today. It's amazing how much we don't know about, like, our own digestion.
Right. There's a whole world going on in there.
There is. All right, so we've talked about diet. We've touched on hydration. Now let's move to lifestyle factors, because these are really key as well. And this is where I get excited because I love this stuff. The source mentions things like mindfulness practices, yoga, aromatherapy, even massage.
Yeah, all the good relaxation techniques.
No, I'm all about it. But why specifically are these beneficial for people with IBS?
Well, have you ever heard of the gut-brain connection?
I have.
It's a really powerful thing. Stress can actually directly affect your gut. It can trigger symptoms. It can make existing symptoms worse. So anything that helps you manage stress, reduce those stress hormones, and relax.
That's going to have a positive impact on your gut health.
Exactly. So things like mindfulness, yoga, the deep breathing, the stretching, it can all help. And aromatherapy, using scents like lavender, chamomile, those can be really calming as well.
That's fascinating. And it's a good reminder that, dealing with IBS is not just about what we're putting into our bodies, but also about like our mental state, our stress levels, and creating a sense of calm.
It's a holistic approach, really.
I love that.
And don't forget about exercise.
Oh, right, of course.
Things like walking, cycling, swimming.
Yeah, the basics.
It can really help keep things moving, reduce stress, all good for gut health.
All right, so we've got diet, lifestyle. What else can we do to kind of get on top of our IBS? What other tools do we have?
Okay, this is one of my favorite things to suggest. Keeping a food and symptom diary.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it might sound a little boring, but it can be really helpful.
I like it. It's like you become like a gut detective.
Exactly. You start tracking what you eat and then how you feel afterwards, and you can start to see those patterns. Like maybe you notice that every time you eat a certain food, you get symptoms. Or maybe you realize that stress really makes things worse.
It takes the guesswork out of it.
Totally. It makes you more aware of what's going on in your body.
All right, so track.
Got it. And last but not least, remember to go slow. You don't have to change everything overnight. Start with 1 or 2 adjustments and see how you feel.
Yeah, small steps.
Baby steps.
All right, so to recap, consistency is key. Be mindful of portion sizes, know your triggers, hydrate like it's your job, incorporate relaxation and exercise, and be your own gut detective by keeping a food and symptom diary. That's a lot, but it seems, I don't know, it seems kind of empowering too.
I think so too. It gives you a sense of control.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you said earlier is really important. It's about finding what works for you.
Absolutely. Everyone is different.
So to everyone listening, think about what resonated with you the most today. What's the first step you're going to take to start feeling better? You have the knowledge, you have the power. Now go out there and take control of your gut health. And until next time, happy digesting.
Happy digesting.
See you next time.
Bye.